Primary is right around the corner, and all congressional seats are up for grabs once again. Tonight, we are looking at Congressional District 1. Now, District 1 was redrawn under Proposition 50. There is also a special election happening in the current District 1 to replace late Congressman Doug LaMalfa's seat through the end of the year. And there are at least 5 candidates running in this race, and 3 of them have measurable campaign activity, meaning that they have raised more than $100,000, according to FEC filings. Tonight, I introduce you to those 3 candidates.
Democratic candidate Audrey Denney is a Chico State professor and consultant in the charitable food sector. She's previously run to represent District 1 in Congress.
Politicians are protecting corporate profits while we're being squeezed on groceries and healthcare and housing and energy.
Republican Assemblymember James Gallagher currently represents Assembly District 3 in the state legislature. He believes he's the right representation for the area he calls home.
We need to cut electricity rates. We need to make sure that grocery prices come down. Those are all things that I think we can work on. I think we also need to tackle waste, fraud, and abuse because, our tax dollars, our precious tax dollars that we need for health care, that we need for education, they can't be wasted.
Democratic State Senator Mike McGuire, a former Senate President pro tem, says he has a deep commitment to rural California and the community he's raising his family in. He wants to make sure small towns have the same opportunities as big ones.
We need proven fighters who set aside partisan politics and put people first. That's how I've led in the California State Senate. That's the job.
As for one of the biggest issues facing people today,
what will you do to lower the cost of living in California?
I'm going to fight to lower the cost of living by going straight at what's actually driving up prices for people. Corporate consolidation, reckless tariffs, rigged markets, and policy choices that shift costs onto working families. I'm going to fight to lower healthcare costs by taking profit out of the system and fighting for a Medicare for all single-payer nonprofit system. I also think it's absolutely critical that we remove the payroll tax cap on Social Security. Seniors on a fixed income deserve to make sure that their Social Security can actually keep up with rising costs. And lastly, I think that we need a fair tax policy where corporations and billionaires are actually paying their share.
I think we should suspend the gas tax. It's a huge cost increase. We should modify our cap and trade system to take fuel, gas out of it. We already have a low carbon fuel standard, so by taking that out, we could also lower the cost of fuel. Electricity rates, I have legislation right now to slash them by 30%. So right off the bat, fuel and electricity costs, we could lower those costs, help save people money at the kitchen table.
I'm going to fight to repeal the tariff taxes that have impacted all of our households. I'm going to push to allow Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. I will fight to repeal the $1 trillion in cuts that Donald Trump and Republicans have advanced to Medicaid. 3 million Californians will lose their health care by mid-2027 because of the Medicaid cuts. That's what we need to focus on. Expanding health care, universal health care for every American, universal free, tuition-free community college. And the way we can pay for that is repeal the tax cuts that Donald Trump has given to billionaires.
Governor Gavin Newsom, Senator Alex Padilla, SEIU California, and the California Democratic Party are just some of those endorsing Mike McGuire. Jill LaMalfa, widow of the late Congressman Doug LaMalfa, President Donald Trump, and Speaker Mike Johnson are just some of those endorsing James Gallagher. Emily's List and several progressive organizations are supporting Audrey Denney.
And what makes you qualified to represent this district, especially since Prop 50, drastically changed the lines that represented this district?
I grew up on a family farm. I worked my way through school. I built a career in helping our communities, farmers and food banks solve real problems for people, lowering costs, strengthening economies, and making sure that people can get by. I'm not a career politician. I don't take corporate PAC money. I'm not trying to climb a ladder to get to Washington, D.C. I'm only accountable to the people that I serve.
Yeah, well, Prop 50 was a grievous injustice, because my district, which has traditionally been Northern California, was split up into 3 different districts and combined with areas from the Bay Area. What I'm going to do is going to be a huge advocate for the people who are having their representation at least attempted to be ripped away. They can vote for someone who knows this district. I've represented it for 12 years in the legislature, who knows the communities, who works with them on a daily basis, and who will make sure that they have a voice in Washington, D.C.
You got to work together because that's the only way that progress sticks. And you always fight for the people that you work for. You never give up. I became the first president of the California State Senate from a rural area in over a century. And we deliver because we give a damn. We've expanded healthcare. We've made investments in infrastructure. We've expanded mental health beds. We have secured the largest non-prison investment in a rural county in over 50 years. We're fighting for farmers and ranchers. That's what we need right now.
And what you're looking at right now, this is District 1 now versus the newly drawn district under Proposition 50 that someone will represent starting in January. Voters who live in District 1 and will continue to do so after Prop 50 will have two questions about the district. So one question will be about who will serve the rest of late Congressman Doug LaMalfa's term through January 2027. Now, if someone gets more than 50% of the vote in June, they win. If not, the top two go to the runoff in August. Another question is who will be District 1's representative starting in January. Voters will choose a final winner in this race in November. Now, those who were pushed out of District 1 by Prop 50 will still get to vote to replace LaMalfa and then vote for a congressperson in their new district. And pay close attention to the directions from your county about these races. Each county decides how they administer ballots for a primary as well as a special election. So make sure you take a look at that. And as we get closer to Election Day, I do want to remind you of some key dates that you also need to keep in mind. May 18th is the last day to register to vote in the June primary. But if you miss that deadline, same-day registration is also available between May 19th and June 2nd. May 23rd is when vote centers open for early in-person voting. And June 2nd, of course, Election Day, polls are open between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m.